People, the stories, the news, the issues. Everything Adelaide. Belinda Hagen.
I'm out of touch, I'm out of love. I'll pick you up when you're getting down. And out of all these things I've done, I think I love you better now.
Thanks for your company this afternoon at 3:06. Still to come on the program, we're talking The Voice finale with Carice Eden being named Australia's first voice. What do you think of that? I think that was absolutely the right decision, and gee, wasn't Jimmy Barnes' performance fantastic? 8223 0000. But first, we are talking superannuation with Peter Evers, Managing Director of People's Choice Credit Union. Thanks for your company, Peter.
Nice to be here this afternoon.
And also your Senior Financial Advisor, Scott Nichols. Hi, Scott.
Hello, good to be here.
Now, we're talking superannuation. Why is it so important, Scott?
Superannuation is the most tax-effective form of long-term saving available to most of us. And there's a number of benefits to it from a tax point of view and also potentially from a Centrelink point of view.
Well, let's talk about some of those benefits. And, of course, if you've got any questions or comments, 8223 0000. What are some of the benefits of super, Scott?
So if we look at some of the tax benefits, many of your listeners are probably familiar with the idea of salary sacrificing to superannuation. So that's where you go to your pay office and you say, I want to make extra contributions to my super, and they'll usually have some sort of a simple form that you can fill out. And what that then means is that those contributions going into super, you're not going to be paying income tax on that income that is now being salary sacrificed to superannuation. So that's the first really significant tax benefit that there is.
Sure.
You'll then pay contributions tax on those contributions, but for most people, that contributions tax, it's only 15%, so it's probably going to be less than what you would have been paying on your own income tax. There's then other tax benefits once it's in superannuation.
Okay. So if I've got some extra money to invest, why would I put it into superannuation? Is it because of those tax benefits, as you just said?
That's certainly one of them. I mean, the first thing we have to remember is that superannuation is certainly a very long-term savings vehicle. It's subject to preservation, so it's not the sort of vehicle that you'll put super in and expect to be able to get it out next week or next month. It's for your long-term retirement savings. But if that's what you're aiming to do, then it's really one of the best places that you can be directing your savings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because our quality of lifestyle is improving each year, and the amount of money, Peter Evers, that we want at the end of retirement is much greater than perhaps it has been. So we really do need to start looking at super as a way of enjoying a better lifestyle as we retire.
That's correct, Belinda. Nobody wants to go backwards once they retire in the quality of their lifestyle. We all want to travel. We all want to go to dinner. We all want to enjoy times with our friends, and you need money to do that and to live that in a good way. No one really wants to rely on the government pension and compromise lifestyle anymore. Absolutely.
If you've got a question for the People's Choice Credit Union advisors, Scott Nichols and Peter Evers, call us on 8223 0000 or text on 1999 1395. Scott, how old do you think you need to be before you start looking at putting in those extra super contributions?
Well, really, the younger the better. I mean, I talked before about preservation, so obviously if you're younger, it's going to be a lot of time before you see that money again. But there are significant benefits to doing that and to starting as early as you possibly can. Let compounding work for you. The longer that you've got money invested in a long-term investment vehicle like superannuation, the more years you've got where you can be earning returns on your returns and really growing those funds.
Of course, Belinda, everybody has to, who is working, must contribute to super in some way.
The 9%.
The 9%, yes, and probably up to 12% coming up. So where Scott's talking is that additional amount as well. So everybody should be aware of their superannuation and where that's invested and the opportunities to add to that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What happens to the super when you make those contributions? What happens to it?
Well, look, your employer will have a default superannuation fund. So, as Peter says, they've got to put it somewhere. So, if you don't indicate otherwise, it will go into a default superannuation fund, and within that superannuation fund to a default investment strategy. So, if you don't indicate otherwise, that's where it will go, and probably that investment strategy will typically be what they call a balanced strategy, where perhaps half to two-thirds of it is in growth investments, share market investments, that type of thing, and the other one-third or thereabouts will be in more defensive investments.
But if I don't go to the default, I can choose like People's Choice Credit Union and talk to advisors like yourself about whether I want an aggressive portfolio or not?
Absolutely. You can talk to us and we can help you work out what your other choices are. Most people these days have what they call choice of fund. So that means that there is the default fund if you don't indicate otherwise, but for most of us, you can go to your employer, go to your pay office and tell them that there is another fund that you've selected that you want your contributions to go to.
Sure. It was widely publicised that super investments took a hit during the GFC. Should we be wary about super, or is it still a good investment?
It's still a good investment. I mean, I think what's happened over the last few years is a good opportunity for people to reassess their superannuation and take control. I think from a lot of people that I speak to, the feeling that they have is often if they haven't taken control, then they really feel as though it's almost not theirs, it's something separate from them. And so you really need to take control of your super and start making those decisions for yourself, so that then you've got a long-term investment strategy in place. You can't get rid of the market, of course. The market is still going to go on happening. But if you've got the right investment strategy in place, then you can ride out those short-term market movements with in a much more relaxed way.
And our advice, Belinda, is for everybody to talk to a qualified advisor, someone like Scott from People's Choice, who is aware of the market, aware of the legislation that sits in place, and can provide you the best advice. Even if you do it the first time and only every 4 or 5 years afterwards, the best advice is to talk to someone qualified so you better understand and can take that opportunity to be in control with knowledge.
Absolutely, because decisions made now will impact on your retirement income, obviously. 82230000 is the number if you've got any superannuation questions for People's Choice Credit Union, Peter Evers and Scott Nichols. Let's take a call from Sue. Hi, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's your question?
Well, I think you might have answered it. I need to see a financial advisor. I'm about to not inherit. I've just gone through a divorce, and I'm about to get $200,000 worth of super.
How much, Sue? 200,000?
200,000.
Right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've got super because I've worked jobs here, there, and everywhere, all over the place. So I need to consolidate them. I realise that. I've just not been able to do it.
So perhaps...
And now I'm going to get all this money. I need to make it work for me for my future.
Absolutely. Scott Nichols?
Well, look, certainly I think there's a lot of benefit for you, Sue, in sitting down and talking to someone about that. I mean, there's a couple of issues there. One is that you have received this amount of money that you haven't had before and you want to know what's best to do, and that's your nest egg for the future. Are you still working, Sue? What's your situation?
Oh, yeah, I still work.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm working full-time now.
Yep, and so you've got these other amounts of superannuation accumulated in various funds. So the other issue there is that possibly it could be to your benefit to look at consolidating those superannuation funds so that you've got an investment strategy in place. I mean, what can happen, and what you're describing is pretty typical of what a lot of people face. They might have had a few different jobs. They've got super accumulated in different funds. And one of the problems with that is you then don't have a coordinated strategy. So an advisor can certainly sit down and help you to work out how to collect that into a coordinated strategy that's going to be appropriate for you.
You're also probably paying multiple levels of administration fees to various fund providers.
Yeah,
so it's not cost effective for you to do what you're doing either.
That's
and
right.
So consolidate it should lower the cost of administration of that superannuation fund.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I realise I think I've got about 5 different supers happening. And I'm thinking, I've got to do something. And now I've got this lump sum, and I'm going, what do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it seems the advice to you would be to perhaps talk to the people at People's Choice Credit Union and get some advice on consolidating your funds. And the number perhaps Sue could ring, Scott, would be?
131882.
131 882. But I understand, Scott, you might be taking some more calls after this segment's over. Is that right?
Yes, I'm happy to take calls after the segment is over, and I think that we're also available on the website for questions as well. Just the other thing on Sue's point, because her situation is a very common one, and look, it is a very easy process to sit down with someone and talk about that consolidation and get it happening. A lot of people can find it very daunting because they haven't addressed the issue, but an advisor can make this process very easy for you.
Great advice. We're talking all things superannuation here. 8223 0000. We'll continue to take your calls after this short break.